Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 says, "The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters." Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 is not a myth. It is not poetry. It is the literal historical account of the condition of the earth after its initial creation in verse 1. The text is simple, direct, and specific. The Spirit of God inspired it with precision, and it must be read with reverence, not reinterpreted to align with modern cosmological theories. Those who attempt to blend the Genesis account with secular science are not preserving the integrity of Scripture. They are undermining it. The entire system of modern cosmology collapses under the weight of this verse. It is not a metaphor. It is not figurative. It is the truth. The verse begins with the declaration that the earth was without form and void. This phrase in Hebrew, tohu vavohu, means that the earth existed but had not yet been shaped or filled. It was not formless in a chaotic or symbolic sense. It was not yet ordered according to God's purposes. The earth existed first, before the sun, moon, or stars. That truth alone dismantles the heliocentric model taught by NASA and the secular scientific establishment. According to them, the sun came first, forming from gas and plasma, with the planets forming afterward by accretion. That story is fiction. God created the earth first. It was a water-covered world shrouded in darkness. It was not spinning. It was not flying through space. It was fixed, stable, and subject to the creative hand of God alone. Darkness was on the face of the deep. This is not allegorical language meant to symbolize disorder. Darkness is the literal absence of light. God had not yet said, "Let there be light." The deep is the vast, watery abyss covering the earth. This water existed before the sun was created. According to Genesis chapter 1 verse 6, God would later divide these waters with the firmament, proving that this water was not just on the earth, it was above and around it. Psalm 148 verse 4 confirms the existence of waters above the heavens. These are not symbolic waters. They are not clouds or vapor. They are waters. They are real, physical, and were placed in their location by divine command. NASA and the modern scientific community reject the notion of waters above the heavens. They teach that space is a vacuum, that Earth is a sphere spinning on an axis at over 1,000 miles per hour, while revolving around the sun at approximately 67,000 miles per hour. But Scripture teaches the opposite. Earth is immovable, according to Psalm 104, verse 5. Job chapter 38, verses 4 through 6 makes it plain that the earth has foundations. Those foundations are not metaphorical, they are structural. They hold the earth in place. There is no spin, there is no orbit, there is no evolution. There is only the creative act of God and the fixed world He made. Those who argue that Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 is poetic often point to the use of Hebrew parallelism or appeal to ancient Near Eastern literary comparisons. But those arguments are forced and unnecessary. The text of Genesis reads as historical narrative. The repeated phrase, "and God said," follows a logical and chronological order. Each day builds upon the previous one with structure, timing, and purpose. Exodus chapter 20 verse 11 confirms that creation happened in 6 literal days. If this were poetry or allegory, then God's own words to Moses at Mount Sinai would be misleading. But God does not lie. His word is consistent from beginning to end. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. This detail reveals the intimate and active involvement of God's Spirit in creation. The term hovering is used again in Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 11 to describe an eagle hovering over its young. It communicates protection, intention, and creative preparation. The Spirit did not hover over a ball flying through space. He hovered over a fixed, dark, water-covered earth. The order of events cannot be mistaken. Earth first, then light, then the firmament, then the sun and moon placed within the firmament, not beyond it. Genesis chapter 1 verse 17 states clearly that God placed the lights in the firmament of the heavens. That firmament, called heaven in verse 8, was created to divide waters from waters. This makes no sense under modern cosmology, but it fits perfectly within the literal biblical model. The firmament is solid, as shown in Job chapter 37 verse 18, where it says the heavens are strong as a cast metal mirror. The sun, moon, and stars were not placed in infinite space. They were set in a defined structure above the earth. Secular theories require billions of years, gravitational collapse, and naturalistic explanations for everything. But gravity is not observable in the way it is described. Water always finds its level and cannot cling to the outside of a spinning object. There is no observable evidence for curvature. Water cannot bend or arc. It must be contained. Every natural body of water is flat from horizon to horizon. This observable reality matches the Bible's teaching, not NASA's deception. Joshua chapter 10 verses 12 through 14 records the moment when God stopped the sun and the moon, not the earth. This event is written as historical narrative, not poetry. There is no hint in the text that this is allegory. If the earth were rotating and orbiting the sun, the text would need to say, God stopped the earth. But he didn't. He stopped the sun and the moon because they move above a stationary earth. This is consistent with the model described in Genesis chapter 1 and supported throughout Scripture. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 22 says, God sits above the circle, chog, of the earth. If God had meant to describe a ball, the Hebrew word dur would have been used, as in Isaiah chapter 22 verse 18, where ball is explicitly mentioned. But chug means a circle, a flat, compass-like shape. The earth is described in terms that align with a circular, enclosed, immovable surface, not a rotating ball in space. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 shatters the foundation of modern science. It teaches that God created the earth first, that it was covered in water and cloaked in darkness, and that the Spirit of God hovered above the water in preparation for his creative work. This is not a metaphor. It is not an ancient myth to be reinterpreted with modern knowledge. It is the authoritative, inerrant, and inspired Word of the living God. Those who reinterpret this verse to accommodate evolutionary cosmology are not preserving the truth, they are betraying it. Scripture does not bend to man's theories. God does not need validation from science. Let God be true and every man a liar. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 is a statement of fact, not fiction. The earth is not a planet spinning through an endless universe. It is the central focus of God's creation, fixed, established, and formed by his word. There is no reason to compromise. There is no poetic language to hide behind. The meaning is clear. The sequence is deliberate. The structure is literal. God made the earth, and he told us exactly how he did it. We are not to correct his word. We are to believe it, proclaim it, and refute every lie that contradicts it. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 stands as a firm declaration against every godless theory, and it is the foundation upon which a biblical cosmology must be built.